Okay, good people. We're doing page 9 of our digital interactive notebook. The title of this page is Graphing Linear Equations. Graphing linear equations. Graphing linear equations. Okay. This is the title. The thing that we need to remember about linear equations, we need to remember that a linear equation or linear equations are equations that graph straight lines. Linear equations are equations that graph straight lines. Linear equations are equations that graph straight lines. That's the first thing that we need to remember. I'm going to pause real quickly so you can write. Okay? There are 3 ways to graph linear equations, okay? There are 3 ways to graph linear equations. There are 3 ways to graph linear equations. 3 ways. We're going to do the first way today, and then we're going to talk about the other 2 next week. Okay? The first way to graph a linear equation is by using the slope-intercept form. The first way is by using the slope-intercept form. Remembering that your slope-intercept form, which we've talked about already, is y equals mx plus b, where your m is the number that represents the slope, and your b is the number that represents the y-intercept. Pause right here for a moment. The second way that we're going to talk about next week to graphing linear equations is to create a function table. Now, we talked about all linear functions are not, all linear equations are not functions. The linear equation that's not a function is the vertical line. So vertical lines are not functions. So keep that in mind. But we would not write a function table for a vertical line, okay? We would not do that. So no worries on that. We would not write a function table for a vertical line. But you need to make sure that you remember that vertical lines are not functions. Why? Because they share all of the x values are the same on a vertical line. All of the x values are the same on a vertical line. The third way that we're going to talk about graphing equations next week is going to be to use a graphic calculator. Use the graphing calculator. Use the graphing calculator. Okay, and I'll pause real quickly. Okay, so now the first way we're going to talk about with graphing linear equations is using the slope-intercept form. So graphing, we're going to be graphing linear equations using the slope-intercept form. We're going to be graphing linear equations using the slope-intercept form which again is y equals mx plus b. These are your steps. These are your steps. Okay? Slide this up a little bit. Your first step is to make sure that equations are written in slope-intercept form. That's the first thing that you're going to do. Make sure that the equation is written in slope-intercept form. And we talked about how to write an equation in slope-intercept form by making sure that you solve for y, getting y by itself. So slope-intercept form again, I wrote it right here as well, y equals mx plus b. First step is to make sure that that equation is written in slope-intercept form. If it's not written in slope-intercept form, you need to write it in slope-intercept form in order to graph it. All of the problems that we're doing today are already written in slope-intercept form. The second step, step 2, is to label your slope and your y-intercept. So second step is to label the slope, and the letter for slope is m, and you're also labeling your y-intercept, and the letter for y-intercept is b. Okay? The letter for y-intercept is b. Putting both of those in parentheses. And I'll pause for a second so you can catch up. Okay, the last step for these set of notes, number 3. We only have 3 steps here. Number 3 is to graph the y-intercept. And of course, you graph it on the y-axis. So you're going to graph the y-intercept. And you graph that on the y-axis. And you're going to use the slope to graph other points on the line. Use the slope to graph other points on the line. Okay, pause real quickly. So now we're going to go over the independent practice problems. We've already talked about day 1, day 2. We did not go over day 4. Okay, so let's look at day 4 real quickly. What did you get for number 1? What did you get for number 1? Excellent. It's y equals 4x plus 3, where 4 is your slope, that's m, and your y-intercept is 3, positive 3. So good job. This is your equation. Number 2, can somebody tell me what you got for number 2? So here, your m is equal to -1, and your b is positive 1. So when you write this in y equals mx plus b, you replace m with -1. So that's y is equal to a -1 or just negative x plus, since this is a positive, 1 for b. Very good. Okay, let's look at number 3. What did you get for number 3? Since this negative is here, was supposed to be a negative, but you saw it as a positive. If you saw it as a positive, that would be right. Y is equal to a positive 2 over 5x minus 1. That would be right if this was positive. But it is a negative here, okay? Because I missed that too. Trust me, I missed that too the first time. So don't feel bad about that. I missed it as well. So when you plug in a -2 over 5, because I missed that negative as well, your answer here should have been y is equal to negative 2 over 5x plus 3. Okay? Please make sure, because I'm not going to call you to the red carpet today, but it's quite a few people that's on this call right now that you guys don't show your work. And that's why you're not getting 100. Okay? Because you're not showing your work, you're just giving me answers. Answers only is going to get you a 50. And if it's answers only and you didn't complete everything, then the grade goes lower than that. So please make sure that you show your work. And I will do it down here to show you what that should look like. Okay? So for number 3, it should look like this. You already have your m, which is negative 2 over 5. You got to figure out what b is. So you're going to use y equals mx plus b and plug in your value for y, m, and x. Your value, look up here. Your value for x is 5 and for y is 1. So I'm going to substitute. I'm going to put my value for y, again, is 1. It's equal to, slope or m is negative 2 over 5 times, because the operation between x and m is multiplication, x is going to be, 5. Sorry, y'all. So I'm going to write 5 as a fraction by putting a 1 under it, plus b. So now in order to solve for b, I got to multiply this first. Bring down the 1. On the top, this gives me a negative 10. On the bottom, this gives me a positive 5. Bring down the plus b. Negative 10 divided by a positive 5 is going to give us a negative 2. So now when you get b by itself, you're going to add 2 to both sides, and that's going to give you 3. So b is equal to 3. So that's how I get y is equal to negative 2 over 5x plus, what did I say b was? 3. Sorry. Okay, that's how I got this. Any questions about that? What'd you get for number 5 right here? What do we get for number 5? Anybody? What'd you get for number 5? Okay, number 5 I'm going to do down here. 3 steps. You find m, then find b, then 3. You're going to substitute m and b into y equals mx plus b. Simple steps right here. Okay? All right. So now, remember when you're answering your essential questions, guys, please make sure that you don't just say m, that you say slope. Don't shorthand your essential questions, because that's how sometimes I'm taking off points, because some of your initials don't even make sense. Some of you like to use text language. I don't understand text language. I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay? So please use your sentences. All right. So let's look at this. We find the slope first, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And on the top, you're going to get, this is x1, y1, x2, y2. You're going to get 4 minus 0. And on the bottom, you're going to get 4 minus 2. So this gives me 4 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So my answer here for slope is going to be 2. Okay. Now you're going to take 2 and find b. So in order to find b, you use y equals mx plus b and substitute value for y, value for x, and the value for m. So you just choose one of these points. I'm going to choose this easy one right here, 2, 0. So since I'm using 2, 0, 0 is my y. 2 is m. 2 is also x plus b. So to solve for b, I have to multiply this first. So this gives me 4 plus b. To get b by itself, I subtract 4 on both sides. So this gives me a negative 4 is equal to B. Questions about that? All right. Know what the answers are. You need to check your answers. If you didn't get it right, you need to go back and do these again. So for this one, you should have gotten y is equal to 7 over 2x minus 11. For number 6, you should have gotten y is equal to negative x minus 4. For number 7, you should have gotten y is equal to 7x minus 4. Number 8, y is equal to 3x minus 3. For number 9, y is equal to 4 over 5, or you can write 0.8 as the decimal, x plus 4. And number 10, y is equal to a negative 1/5 x plus 4. Guys, having the answer only, obviously I just gave you the answers only, so guess what? I don't want just answers only. You have to show your work. So if you didn't show your work, you go back and show your work so you can get credit for this page. Okay? All right, let's look at the ones that I told you I was going to do for today. And again, we're using the steps for graphing linear equations. First step, make sure that the equation is written in slope-intercept form. Label M and B, then graph the y-intercept, and use the slope to graph other points. So I'm going to walk you through those steps with both 1 and 2. First thing here is make sure that this equation is written in y equals mx plus b form. And it is, okay? Or y equals b plus mx, as long as y is isolated, okay? So now we're going to label your m and your b. Your m is 7 over 2. This is your rise. This is your run. Your b is negative 2. Questions about how I label my m and my b? Okay. Now, the second step is I'm going to take my y-intercept and graph it on the y-axis. So I'm going to find negative 2 on the y-axis. This is where the line crosses the y-axis at negative 2. So graph that point there. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to take my slope, positive 7 over 2, and use it to graph other points. So put my pencil right here on B, and you see where it says 7, rise 7. So that means I go up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see where it says positive 2? That means go to the right 2 times. 1, 2. So the right 2. I don't have enough space to do that backwards because I'm out of space this way and I'm out of space this way. So all I'm doing is connecting these 2 points. And this forms my straight line. Questions about that? I'm going to do number 2. You do 4 and 5 on your own. So here, this is written in y equals mx plus b form or b plus mx form, slope-intercept form. Next step, I'm going to label my m and my b. My m here is negative 6. I need one. If I have a whole number as a slope, I need to write it as a fraction so I can have rise over run. So to write a negative 6 as a fraction, I just put a 1 under it. Any questions about how to write a whole number as a fraction? Now I have a rise over a run. My y-intercept is this number or constant that has no variable attached to it, and it's a positive 3. So now I'm going to find B on the y-axis, my y-intercept. This is where the line crosses the y-axis. So I find positive 3 on the y-axis, and it's right here. Graph it. Now I'm going to use my slope, negative 6 over 1, to graph other points on the line. So here, -6 means I go down 6. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And +1 means I go to the right 1 time. If I had enough space to do that again, then I would go ahead and do it again, but I don't have enough space. And I don't have enough space to do it backwards this way. So I'm just going to connect these 2 points. Any questions about graphing here?